Yeah, that's Lady Maravilla. That's Lady Shani. Those are two of my favorites. Yeah, watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Oh. No! Did you see that, Dexxy?
Hey, Mararan. Hey, Dexxy.
What? Dude. How did she know that it was you? Wait a second. How did you know who I was under the mask as well? Hey, la secretaria está loca como una cabra.
You realize I've been studying Spanish on Rosetta Stone. I know exactly what you just said, but anyways, what are you two doing?
Yeah, I still don't understand how you're supposed to learn languages from a rock, okay? But anyway, Dexxy and I have been binge watching Lucha Libre. Mostly AAA stuff, you know, Lucha Fighter, Lucha Capital, Auto Luchas is a good one. But yeah, I mean, the list goes on and on. This stuff is awesome.
What made you start watching it?
You see, what happened was, I was doing my research to figure out exactly what the attire was from, and that brand new Lady Maravilla Legends of Lucha Libre Premium Collector Wave 2 figure, you know, the one by Boss Fight Studios, the one that I'm reviewing today, and it just so happened when I was doing my research, I mean, Secretary Stase, I fell in love with Lucha Libre. Well, we both did.
I'm glad you discovered Lucha Libre. You boys could use some culture.
Yeah, I agree with Dexxy. What do you mean by that?
Well, me being the global ambassador of LumberJillville, I'm just very proud of you to take the time out of your busy Christmas schedule to observe a different wrestling culture.
Ay, caramba! Christmas! I almost forgot. You see, I've been in the Jilma spirit all month. It wasn't until Dexxy and I kind of became obsessed with the lucha stuff. I still got shopping to do. Oh, hey, do you think Comer Alexa would like a lucha mask for Jilmas/Christmas?
No, not particularly.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. She probably doesn't want one. But she needs one! Am I right, Dexxy? Pah! Well, back to some more matches. Next up on the docket, we got some Lady Maravilla and some Lady Shani. Ooh, that's who Boss Fight needs to make next. Lady Shani. Yeah.
Ay caramba.
Bienvenida a LumberJillville. La lucha libre femenina vive aquí. And welcome to LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. And welcome to today's very exciting review of Legends of Lucha Libre Premium Collector Wave 2 Lady Maravilla by Boss Fight Studios. Now, truth being told, shout out to Boss Fight Studios for sending me this figure to review. But I did already have two on pre-order because I was that excited for this figure. But this figure right here is the one that they sent me, and this is the one we are going to review. I'm super excited. I've been super excited ever since I reviewed the Fanaticos Wave 1 Taya Valkyrie. I thought that figure way more than exceeded my expectations. So to get a premium collector version from the Lucha Libre line, I'm just really ecstatic to review this figure. And I've also been watching a lot of Lucha Libre. I did a lot of research trying to find what this attire is from. But I got wrapped up, and it's awesome. And I became a fan real quick. So, real quick, Lady Shani, I want to see it happen, Boss Fight. Lady Shani, premium collector figure. Let's go. But anyway, with that being said, let's take a closer look at this figure. I'm excited. Alright, so let's start off covering the packaging because not only does this look very cool, very unique, but this is the very first time that I've covered this particular packaging here in LJV. So if you go back to over a year ago, Legends of Lucha Libre Premium Collector Series or Wave 1 were Rey Fénix and Pentagon. I'm sure you saw those online. Very cool looking figures. But here, this Lady Maravilla is the very first female released in that particular line. So this is the first one I'm reviewing, and I'm super excited. And the reason I'm so excited is because I was blown away by that Fanaticos Series 1 Taya Valkyrie figure, which I'll show you right here. This is kind of, I guess some people were saying, the answer to the Mattel WWE Basics, but this figure is everything but basic. I want to listen to that because this figure stands all on its own, in my opinion. The quality here is fantastic. The price point is unbeatable. I mean, like I said, I went in there with open arms to review this figure. I was blown away, and I couldn't praise this figure enough. Okay, now I did do a full review, so make sure to go check that out if you haven't seen it yet. But I just want to show you the style packaging because this is kind of a more basic style packaging, but it is very good quality. Not only does it look very visually appealing, but the cardboard is very thick, very durable, and that's something we just don't see with Mattel and Jazzwares nowadays, honestly. So this is quality packaging, even if it's kind of a more simpler version than what we're looking at today. So what we're looking at today is the more advanced packaging, I guess you could say. You know, this figure itself is kind of the elite or the ultimate style, but I like to look at it all in its own entity, honestly, because that Taya Valkyrie was kind of its own thing. So this, to me, is its own thing. So taking a closer look here, it does have this boxy appearance, which is nice. It sits very well on shelves, very good quality. Now, you'll notice we have this nice big open window. I am drooling over the aspect of getting this thing signed by Lady Maravilla at some point. That is definitely on the LJV bucket list. That's definitely one of my channel goals here, is to get this autographed. Now, not this particular one. Like I said, ordered 2 others. I'm going to keep one MOC. And my goal is to get that thing autographed because I became a huge fan of hers after watching a bunch of her matches doing research. So yeah, this figure would look fantastic, would look amazing autoed, and that nice large open window is definitely the main reason why there. But we also get to see the figure, which looks great, extra head, extra hands, and then the selfie stick and cell phone accessory, which we'll cover when we open it up. Now what's cool is the backdrop is this nice pink color, and it really does pop. When I opened this up, I was smiling ear to ear. My daughter's with me, and she was like, whoa! She just loved how that looked. Very cool. On the front, we have her name on the side there. Legends of Lucha Libre, an image of Lady Maravilla. We have a way to see kind of from the side the figure with this little window that kind of wraps around. We have the Legend of Lucha Libre logo, her name once again. And on the other side, we have an image of the stunning, the beautiful, the talented Lady Maravilla. Love that. And on the back, we have some really cool fig photography, which is actually pretty neat that they added this on the back. I love that. You can kind of see the different poses you can make with her and kind of gives you ideas for figure photography. And then at the top we have a little bio here, kind of gives her stats there. And on the bottom we have the rest of kind of what I just mentioned, the premium collector figures. So the Penta and Rey Fénix did come out a little while ago, but I know a lot of people love those, and the Conan just came out. So definitely check those out if you collect men's wrestling figures. They look very awesome, but here in LumberJillville, we're all about the women, and I am all about this figure. So I have some scissors. Let's open this up live. It's pre-recorded. Like if I obviously cut my hand off or something, I'm not going to air it. But okay, I'm looking for tape here. Oh boy. So it looks like, okay, those tabs just pop out. The sides there, okay. The figure slides out. I'm going to keep that backdrop. My daughter will want that. We have the package there. And then, so we have this really nice pink backdrop. I love that. It's actually pretty thick cardboard once again. We have this kind of plastic overlay. Take it off. Here's the figure. Now I'm going to pop things out very carefully. Stay tuned. Boss Fight Studios Legends of Lucha Libre Premium Collector Figures Wave 2 Lady Maravilla. This attire is from Rey de Reyes, produced by AAA in 2019, which took place on March 16th. On this night, the team of Big Mama and Niño Hamburguesa defeated Lady Maravilla and Villano Tercero Jr. to retain the AAA World Mixed Tag Team Championships. Alright, some overall first impressions of this figure. The first thing I'm going to say is I am so happy to have a female Lucha Libre superstar in LumberJillville to finally add to my collection here. And especially with how much I've been into it as of late, watching her matches, I'm just so ecstatic to have her in my collection, right? Like, I became a huge fan pretty much overnight with her. She's awesome. This figure looks great. And obviously, we will take an up-close look and break this figure down piece by piece and see how it is. But just my first impressions, yeah, I mean, when I took it out of the packaging, I could feel the quality, and the quality is definitely there. And I wasn't surprised because when I unboxed that Fanaticos Wave 1 Taya Valkyrie, I was blown away. I didn't know if it was going to feel hollow or feel cheap or what to expect. But when I took it out of the package, that Taya Valkyrie was pure quality. It just felt like a quality product that had a lot of attention to detail and effort and love put into it. And this one even more so, because this is a premium collector line. So it's a line that has a lot more articulation as well as details compared to that Fanaticos line. But yeah, I was blown away. I mean, I just have a lot of good things to say about this figure. But before I get ahead of myself here, let's cover the accessories. So she comes packaged with 2 closed fists. She also comes with 2 extra pair of hands. We have open hands, and we also have the C-grip or the grasping hands. And we also have an extra head, which we will cover in detail next. And what's really cool is we have a selfie stick and a smartphone. So let's put these 2 things together. So this selfie stick actually has a lot of intricate detail, not only in the sculpt, but the paint application, which is excellent. And the little smartphone is also really detailed. Even has a little home button on the bottom. But yeah, there's some sculpting involved in that. And so the way that I'm going to put it in, because I can tell it definitely fits snugly in this thing, which is nice, is I'm sliding it in from the bottom. That seems to be a good idea. So obviously she can hold it with whichever hand you want, but I kind of want to do it with her right hand here. So yeah, I slid it in from the bottom, and it is a little difficult to get it in there, but I'd rather have that to be the case because you want this thing to be sturdy. You don't want it falling out because this cell phone would get swept up by a vacuum, knocked around by cats, whatever. So that is awesome, and I will put this in her hands later in the review when we cover the body sculpt just to see how it looks. Alright, so let's start off reviewing the head that she comes packaged with, and then we'll take a look at the alternate one. We'll switch it out, see how hard or easy that is. But this one she comes packaged with is beautiful. It is so toyetic. I mean, the pink on the mask really does pop in contrast with the black base color. And what's cool is not only is that pink painted on, but it's also sculpted. So the details you see that are painted pink are raised up a little bit, and that's excellent. Now, a detail that I noticed when I had it in hand but had no idea but looking at images is the layering in the sculpting. And what I mean by that is you could tell that they did a separate, or maybe did the face sculpt first and then sculpted the mask on, and what it did is it created a layered effect that you really can't notice unless you have it in person. Now here, I'll try to show you the best I can. So, okay, so do you see in that right eye hole, there's light going through? Let me move my hand. You see my hand moving? So this mask was sculpted on to a face sculpt that they made. And like I said, that creates a layering effect, which it just looks really realistic, really cool in person. It doesn't look like her face is the actual mask. It looks like she has a face under that mask. So that's super awesome. Now, the scan underneath it, as you can see, her eyelashes are really long. It's a nice little detail. And she even has, and I'll say it's sculpted because it is raised up, this little silver piercing on her cheek, which looks great. The hair sculpt itself kind of is sculpted to go over her shoulder, and then the back, it's a little wavy. But what I really love about the paint application of this hair is it does look really realistic. So a lot of times with the Mattel and Jazzwares figure, Jazzwares has been okay from time to time, but it's almost like watercolor painting on their hair sometimes. But anyway, as far as the hair paint application, with Mattel, a lot of times they go with one solid color. That's it. But here, you could see, it might be hard to tell on camera, but you could see that there are little streaks painted throughout, and the paint application to the hair might be the best I've ever seen, honestly, in a women's wrestling figure. They did a really good job of making the hair actually look lifelike and not making it just one solid jet black color. So yeah, that's definitely cool. So let's move on from the head she comes packaged with, which pops right off. We have a little peg there. It's not too big. And we have this extra head here. Now, what's cool is there's no neck joint that goes up and down. So the AEW Jazzwares figures have a joint here, and when you try to pop on the heads, that joint goes down, it goes up. But this one should be fairly simple. So we're going to put it there. We're going to push. Okay, and it's on. Definitely a nice snug fit there. And yeah, this is definitely a cool alternate look. This is a jet black and all black mask, and it looks excellent. And even the little details. So what was painted pink before on this mask is almost painted in like a glossy black. So it's not just one solid black color all out. It's like a matte black as the base and then a glossy black for the details there. And oh man, I almost like this black mask. That looks super cool. I love that. And on top of that, we have a nice smiling sculpt there. Once again, we have those long eyelashes. We have that piercing. And then the hair is also different. Now, the hair does have some curls to it. It's in like a high ponytail bun in the back. And it goes over her shoulders on both sides, and it's got a little curl, a little wave to it, which is really, really cool. Now, I watched an episode of Auto Luchas where she had this pink and black attire on, and she had a black mask, and she had, like, braids. Her hair was in braids on that match, and that's kind of what this looks like. But either way, this alternate head is so different and definitely unique in its own way. So which one I prefer, I don't know. I just know they're both pretty darn awesome. Moving on down to the body sculpt and the attire. Now, what's really cool about this figure being the first female released in that premium collector line by Boss Fight Studios is all these pieces and parts are unique. They're uniquely sculpted for her, and I think that is so cool because it gives the figure personality, and they did a great job with the sculpt, really representing her physique in real life. I think they did a good job here with the body sculpt. And the attire itself is also super cool. I love the black and pink theme. And once again, sculpted for her. So let's take a closer look at all these details. Let's look at the top. So as far as the sculpting goes, even these little cross stitches are sculpted on, painted pink. These logos on the top are painted on. And on the back, we have some folds that are sculpted. So it does look like an actual top. Now, what's really cool and something that I mentioned earlier that I didn't notice until I had it in front of me is this pink on her top is a metallic glittery pink. It is kind of hard to tell, but when you have it in person and look at it up close, you can kind of see with my lights here. It does have like a glittery metallic appearance, which makes it accurate but awesome. So yeah, I love how that is an additional paint detail there. Now moving on down to her bottoms, we have a lot of sculpted folds to give it an appearance of tights. The waistband has some sculpting on it. We even have some sculpted folds on the back. And then once again, that pink that goes around the waistband, the pink logo on the front, pink logo on the back, is a metallic or a shiny type pink. And that's a great detail I had no idea until I had it in person. She has these little wristbands or wrist tape sculpted on. I believe when you remove the hands, you could actually take those off if you really want. But that's a cool little detail. Her knee pads aren't removable. They're kind of sculpted into her actual body sculpt, which I actually like because they don't look bulky, they don't look unnatural, and they allow her to have maximum flexion of that knee. I mean, look how far back you can flex that knee. Very cool. And even the details here, such as the glossy black paint that we saw on her mask, is the paint they used on the top of that knee sleeve or knee pad, which is cool. And that right knee pad, this is where you can really tell the glittery or the shiny pink that they applied in that paint application. That looks really cool. Definitely pops. The boots have sculpted laces going on down, some folds sculpted on, and white painted on the bottom. So yeah, I was blown away by this attire because I had no idea that the pink was metallic. And when I found, what I think the attire is from, the pink was metallic. And I didn't think it was that way in the figure until I opened it up, and I was blown away to see that the pink is indeed a sparkly, shiny color. And the body sculpt itself is excellent. But let's cover articulation. Alright, so before I cover articulation, I just wanted to show you what she looked like holding the selfie stick. So that's definitely cool. I told you I'd show you that. So there it is. Definitely a cool accessory. But like I said, I'm pretty sure my daughter is going to take this, and I'll probably display her without it, honestly, because I think there's a lot going on here in the figure. Now, covering articulation, I am going to point out something that is kind of flawed on this particular figure. I don't know if my other two that I have are this way. I'll open one of them, so maybe I'll let you know down the road here. But this upper torso joint is very snug, and when it came packaged, this is kind of how the figure was in the package, and it looks like she has scoliosis or something. But it is important to note that that can be fixed by just kind of readjusting And now she's normal. Now everything is good. But yeah, this joint up here is very, very tight. I mean, you could hear it when I'm moving it around. So that might loosen up over time, but that's one thing I noticed. So if your Lady Maravilla comes in looking like this, have no fear. That is an easy fix on that joint. But because of that, I really wouldn't move this joint a whole lot if you're going to display her. Now, looking at the head here, she can look down okay with this hair sculpt on. She can look up okay. She has pretty good head movement all around. It's probably the same with the other head, pretty similar. The shoulder is on a ball joint, and it's a solid ball joint. It feels a lot like the AW figures, how it's kind of on that like ratchet, like it kind of clicks into place. So it's nice and sturdy, feels great and durable. We have an upper arm swivel there on the bicep. We have double jointed elbows, maximum flexion. Look at that there. The hands and the wrist can rotate around, can also flex, can also extend. Now the waist has this movement that not only does it spin really well, but it can move in all different directions. And I believe, yeah, so this plastic they use on the waistband is kind of stretchy. It's almost like a rubber. And what that does is it allows for a lot of different movement that you can't get in other figure lines. Like, look how much you can crunch her abdomen there because of that. So that's definitely cool. Hips are on a ball joint, has really good direction. And actually, I just realized this plastic they use for the bottom or the tights is kind of like a rubber type material. And what's good about that is even with a little bit of a tushy sculpted on, look, we can move that leg back, because a lot of times with figures nowadays, when that backside sculpt is really big, the leg stops right there, but this figure allows you to really move back. So that's a good part choice, a good good design choice there on the tights. And yeah, feeling them, I mean, they feel like a rubber, like a removable piece. So they actually feel like tights. All right, so moving on down to that awesome hip motion. I mean, look at this. Like, if you look, it's not only on a ball joint, but it also has like a rotating ability. Like, wow, I've never seen a hip that's that articulated. The knee can flex all the way. We have an upper boot swivel. There we go. The foot can plantar flex, dorsiflex, and also rock side to side. So the articulation here is actually probably the best articulation I've ever covered. Like I said, I'd be careful with this upper torso joint. Mine's really tight. But I'm actually blown away by the amount of midsection movement, and making these tights down here like a rubber type material, it really does allow for a lot of extra movement. And then on top of that, having like this rotating articulated feature on top of a hip on a ball joint, you can really put this figure in a lot of positions that you just can't in other lines. So wow, as far as articulation goes, this is pretty dang amazing. All right, so this part of the video we're going to talk about a couple things. We are going to address the elephant in the room, and that's scale. Boss Fight Studios gets a lot of talk from people online saying that they think the figures are way undersized, way out of scale with other wrestling figures. But we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give my thoughts, my opinions, and we're going to do some comparisons. And we're also going to compare the different wrestling figure toy lines right now, at least the major ones that I review here in LumberJillville. So on the far left, we have Fanaticos Wave 1 Taya Valkyrie from Boss Fight Studios. Then obviously we have that premium collector Wave 2 Lady Maravilla we're looking at today. And then we have Elite Series 99 Queen Zelina by WWE Mattel. And then on the way right, we have the AEW Unrivaled Series 11 Penelope Ford. Okay, so let's talk about scale first. Let's address that first. So when I reviewed the Taya, I remember a lot of people were saying, you know, the Fanaticos Wave was out of scale. The Premium Collector Wave 1 were out of scale. But here's the main, not argument, but the main thing I'm going to say is all wrestling figure lines are way out of scale. All the AEW figures mixed with each other, out of scale. All the WWE figures mixed with each other, out of scale. So I don't understand why Boss Fight gets targeted for this aspect, because in all honesty, I think what they were going for is having their figures in scale with each other, because having them in scale with the other wrestling lines would be near impossible, simply for the fact that Jazzwares and Mattel don't make their own figures in scale with each other for the most part. I mean, right here, so let's take a look here. So Penelope Ford here is listed at 5'4". Queen Zelina listed at 5 foot even. Lady Maravilla, 5'5", Taya Valkyrie, 5'8". So right off the bat, we can see that the Taya and the Lady Maravilla are pretty close in size, but Taya's a little taller. These two are in scale with each other. Now, Zelina being 5 foot, this figure does appear to be in scale with the other Mattel WWE figure, so this one works pretty well. Now, the Penelope is huge. She is really tall. I mean, I had her on my shelf with all the AEW figures, and those figures are real crazy with their scales. They're kind of all over the place, and some of them are exactly the same height when one should be 6 inches taller. So Penelope here towers over the others. And if you're looking at these on a toy collecting shelf, so let's say you're looking in LumberJillville at my collection, these are all the figures. Which one of these figures appear to be out of scale? Is the Boss Fight Studios one or the others? To me, it's definitely that Penelope Ford. So how come more people don't talk about the Jazzwares figures being way out of scale, or even the Mattel figures, because those can be out of scale? I think WWE does a pretty good job for the most part in the Elite line, having the women's figures relatively all in scale. But as far as the Jazzwares and Mattel WWE lines go, they're hits or misses, honestly. So I think what Boss Fight is trying to do is make their figures in scale with each other, because like I mentioned, making them in scale with the other lines is hard when those other lines are all over the place. So I do think this Lady Maravilla works well and is the proper scale. Now I know Queen Zelina listed at 5 foot, and she's almost the same height as Lady Maravilla, and that might throw some people off that are looking at the collection saying that Lady Maravilla should be taller. Or may I ask, should Queen Zelina be shorter, right? So, yeah, I don't see scale as a big issue. And in all honesty, even when I'm reviewing the AEW figures and the WWE figures, I don't worry too much about scale, because to me it doesn't matter a whole lot. And it's been thrown out the window by a lot of these major toy companies for a while now with wrestling figures, especially with the females. So scale really isn't a huge factor for me. But I just want to do a little scale comparison between them, kind of give my 2 cents, give my thoughts, and show you what I'm talking about. So as far as comparing the figures themselves, we're going to stick to this Lady Maravilla to represent Boss Fight. This Taya Valkyrie is great. I did a full review, but as far as articulation goes, this Lady Maravilla is the top dog to represent Boss Fight. And as far as articulation and quality goes, I love the AEW Jazzwares line. I love the Mattel WWE line. And I can honestly say now that I love the Boss Fight line. I hope we get more Boss Fight figures, Legends of Lucha Libre women, especially in the premium collector line, because I think it fits right in with Mattel and with Jazzwares. Throwing scale out the window, I think Jazzwares and Mattel do a fantastic job with their sculpts, with their likenesses, with their quality, and I love their figures. This Queen Zelina is, in my opinion, the best figure I've reviewed in LumberJillville. I just think the quality, everything about it is just amazing. It's a beautiful figure. And the Penelope is definitely a cool figure. I think they have done some other AEW women's figures that are better, but I have the Penelope here because it's the most recent AEW figure I've reviewed that was released in the main line. So, yeah, I mean, I love that all three of these companies have different figures, have different positives, different things to love about them. And in my opinion, at the end of the day, this Lady Maravilla, it goes right on the shelf with all your other women's wrestling figures. Alright, so this part of the video, I usually give an overall score, but today I don't really think that's fair, simply because this is the very first female released in the Premium Collector Legends of Lucha Libre line by Boss Fight, and it's the first one I've reviewed of its kind here. So there's not really anything to compare it to as far as score goes. But what I am going to say is this is an excellent figure. And I know anyone out there saying, well, they sent you it to review, so you're going to be biased. That's not true. I mean, if you go back and watch my reviews, I try to be fair. I really try to be fair with all my reviews, tell it how it is. And when a product's bad, I'm going to call it out. When a product's good, boy, I am going to call it out. I'm going to represent it. And I truly stand behind and fully support Boss Fight Studios and what they're doing with their figures, especially their women's figures that I've reviewed, because I'm blown away by the quality, the attention to detail, and the love put into them. And honestly, I can't say enough good about this Lady Maravilla. I mean, there's so much about this figure to love, and this really does make it totally worth the price point. Now, I do have in the description where you can buy this figure right now, also the link to the Boss Fight Studio shop, where they have accessory packs and some other things. And I highly suggest you check those links out and you order one. If you're a fan of Lucha Libre, if you're a fan of women's wrestling, a fan of wrestling figures, I honestly highly suggest that you get this, because this is a one-of-a-kind figure to have in your collection. And if you're a women's wrestling figure collector like me, this is a no-brainer to at least get two. Like I said, one to open and display, and one to have her sign one day. because it's a gorgeous figure to have MOC, but when you open it up, it's even more beautiful, and the quality here is tremendous. Now, before you go, make sure to hit subscribe below for a first look at all future women's wrestling figures. I have a lot of figures coming in the future, and I had a lot of fun with today's review, so I really hope you enjoyed it. I appreciate you watching. Now, head on over to ringsidecollectibles.com and use coupon code LJV at discount to save 10% on your next order of women's wrestling figures. Now, when this video is coming out, it's a day before Christmas Eve. I don't know if I'll be able to have a video come up before Christmas. I'm having my family come in to visit me out here, so I'm going to be kind of off the grid for the next few days. But if you don't hear from me, make sure you have a happy Christmas, a happy Jilmas, a happy whatever you celebrate. And I truly hope you have a safe and happy time. I'm sending all my love from Mayor Aaron and LumberJillville to all of you out there. Thanks for watching, and have a great night, y'all.